Hi, everyone. Before the episode starts, I want to make a quick note. You're going to randomly hear like a sound throughout random points in the podcast. I do apologize. I finally figured out what's causing that. It's whenever I put my drink back down on my desk. I recently got a new desk, so I do apologize. I'm going to find a way to not keep my drinks on the desk, I guess. Anyway, I just want to explain that now. So wanted to put that in beforehand. You'll hear me comment about it at the end of the show as well. All right, thanks.
Hello there, friends. Welcome back to The Joy of Reading. I'm your happy little host, Matthias720, with my happy little friends here, Jeremy and KD. We're going to tell you a not-so-happy little story about a not-so-happy little hedgehog named Orkwill and his big little friend, Gorath.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Actually, now I sound a little bit more like Martha Stewart when you do that. It's a good thing.
I'm sorry. I just laughed very loudly and ruined the mood. I very much apologize. So, yeah.
Welcome to Recorder on the Wall, ASMR edition.
Yes. And now we're going to whisper in your ear. We're just going to whisper in your ear. We're going to go over here. Maybe a little bit hard. Okay, sorry.
I have my book right here. We're just gonna read from it.
Just gonna flip a few pages. How's that sound?
I can't hear a thing. Your mic's
Welcome
not picking
back,
it up.
everyone, to Recorder on the Wall, where we're insane.
Well, wait, if we're going insane, how do we know when we get there?
I don't know. Okay, so today we are covering the book one of Eulalia. And I say it like that because there's an exclamation point at the end.
Yes.
And it's not like in math where the exclamation point means factorial, so we're not multiplying Eulalia times Eulalia times Eulalia. Weird math.
Eulalia squared.
Square root of Eulalia.
Badger
Equals...
plus Eulalia equals X. Solve for
blood
X.
wrath. Badger
Yes.
plus Eulalia equals blood wrath.
Badger
So
times
minus
blood wrath.
pirate captain equals
Dead.
Yeah.
So
weirdly, for some reason, this one wasn't, I can't remember if this one wasn't on Audible or if it was one of the first ones I ever read, but I purchased this on audio CD.
Oh.
I have it on audio CD as well.
Yeah, it was weird. I was kind of thinking about, I was like, okay, wait, I had Tagarung and Bellmaker on cassette, and I somehow purchased Eulalia on audio CD, and the rest of them were like digital audiobooks. I was like, I wonder how that happened, because I read so many Redwall books, like one after another, when I was getting back into it after I recovered from Martin the Warrior. I don't remember what order I read all these in.
Ah, man. I mean, the audiobooks have been going for so long that it's just like, I remember being like 12 and checking out Martin the Warrior on audio cassette from the library.
Yeah.
Like half a dozen times.
I remember getting Pearls of Lutra on cassette because I was too impatient to wait for the book. Or the paperback version, at least.
Yeah.
And wasn't that one of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the abridged ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 2 cassettes, I'm betting.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. I'd need to. It's in my garage somewhere. I gotta find it.
I nerdily purchased it off of Amazon.co.uk because it was not available on Amazon.com. I am not ashamed.
Well, I got it when it first came out. I don't think Amazon existed. When did Pearls of Lutra come out?
I don't know. Was it 97?
Yeah, I believe 96 apparently. Oh, 96. Okay. So when did Amazon begin? Amazon started 94. Okay.
Well, I think I purchased it back when was like a few years ago, not in '94 when Amazon first came.
Yeah, I
But-
bought it in 1996. So
Anyway,
I'm older. I just turned 37 this week, actually.
hey, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday, da 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 da. Hey,
So, no, we're not talking about Pearls of Lutra again. We're going to be talking about Eulalia, which we have now hit. This is the first of 3 books we're going to be covering this podcast that I have not read before doing the podcast.
Hooray!
So, this is all new to me.
I will not spoil anything. Rose dies.
Um, and this isn't like with Rackety Tam where I just legitimately forgot everything that happened. Same thing with Hyrule Lane. This one I just haven't read, so I have an excuse for not knowing what happens. And so this is now, we are on the 19th book in the series.
Wow. We have come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Go us.
Yep. And this came out in 2007. So that was 14 years ago.
I have my hardcover that I purchased from Borders, R.I.P. Borders,
Oh,
with
Borders.
the very faded receipt inside that I can just make out the date. I need to get a flashlight to look closer at this. It's so faded. The 16th of October, 2007.
Nice.
Dang,
That was my first semester of college.
I had just graduated college.
That was my senior year.
Hey, now you know how old we all are.
Yay! So today, you young whippersnappers, we're going to be covering Book 1, Longtooth's Prisoner.
And there's a prologue
And there is a prologue. And
with an unknown creature talking about things.
yep, we have an unknown narrator. Also, I'd like
Although, if you reread it after you read book 1, you have a pretty good idea of who it's going to be, but spoilers.
Right.
Interesting little bit, at least about the paperback version that I have. It does not show the page markings for the different book numbers.
Huh.
So, like, there's no table of contents page in this one.
Yeah, that's weird. I also have my paperback copy here as well. Yes, I have paperback copies of the books I have hardcovers of. Sue me. But let's see. Is it in the hardcover version as well? I thought there was. Nope.
Huh.
There's usually one there.
Yeah.
There isn't.
That is really weird. Okay. But we do get a map, and it's a very big map, and I love how Mossflower Wood is notated like twice on it, or 3 times.
Yep.
So, and we get the River Moss in this book, so that comes back for the first time in forever, I think.
It time traveled.
Time travel.
Time traveling river.
They dammed it up so well in Mossflower it jumped through time.
I also like on the map, there's this picture of a badger, like face forward, just the head. It's like snarling, and there's a circle of chain going around it. And it's just like, I'm sure there's somebody, not me, who would really like that as a tattoo.
So, prologue, yeah, we just get it's a quick little, like, 3-paragraph prologue, but it's cool. I like how it's, like, descriptions from someone at Salamandastron, because we don't get that as the framing device as much as Redwall. And, yep, so, book 1, which is Longtooth's Prisoner.
And this chapter art is, or book art, I should say, is like the most depressing image ever.
It's pretty scary looking. It's Badger with blood red eyes and scar over his face, screaming while chained up with a fox whipping at him, and it's pretty brutal.
Oh no, not the cover art, but the one
Oh.
under book 1, Longtooth Prisoner, where he's chained
Oh,
to the mast, where he's got his head lolled back like he's unconscious, and his body's just kind of sprawled against the mast.
oh yeah. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, I'm in for a happy section of the book now.
Yes.
I mean, that's why we had to open up with our Bob Ross parody, because we need a little something happy with this being the starting image.
There's very little happy in this section of the book. I will say that. There's some fun moments, but there's only one of the characters we follow has the fun moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like the intro, like it was a night for raiding, and that just kind of kept coming back, and like his whole very sad story with him and his grandparents, like kind of when we mostly focus on Redwall and Salamandastron, like two relatively happy, stable, safe places, we kind of forget that there's a lot of this universe that's not like that. And people and creatures like dream of coming to one of these places to find some peace, because otherwise it's just like war and desolation, apparently.
Yeah, like and we don't normally see these characters as the beginning focus either. Like they're usually people that our heroes meet on their journeys.
Right.
So it actually, thinking about it, so our main badger Gorath and his grandparents, them working like on a farm off on their own, it actually kind of reminds me of that short little bit in Castaways of the Flying Dutchman, where Ben and Den are staying with the old man.
Oh, Luis. Okay.
Luis, yep. But yeah, we are also introduced to our main villain, Captain Vizca Longtooth. And that's Vizka. Why the Z? Because edginess.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of like that name. It's better than some of the ones that we've had, like, scummy and stinky.
I do like his name. I also like the fact that his weapon is something unique, which is a mace and chain.
Yeah.
So it's something different. And bonus points, he does not have an annoying family.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
Well, he has a brother who is, like, godlike compared to what we just dealt with in the last book, so.
I was going to say, he's like the villain version of, like, the tag-along cute little brother, except villain.
Yes. Fair enough.
I want to play too!
I want to be captain! Are you going to say captain back to me? No, because you're not the captain yet.
Their parents made Vizca take him with him.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to take your little brother Kodge with you on your journey. I'm not going on a journey, I'm going raiding. Then bring him with you on your raids.
I just have to say that there are two new voice actors for this audiobook that we've never had before. I think because I've noticed that a lot of the actors for this one are absent for some reason, so I guess they might not have been available. But we get two fantastic female voice actors. Elsie Kelly plays some more of the older people, and she has a fantastic, like, lovely, warm, sort of lower voice. It's just, I love it. But she can also do villains. She does villains. And then Kath Rice, I believe is her name, and she plays Mad Body and a couple other people, and she does a fantastic job.
Cool. After the I will say also the ship name Blood Gullet. I like that.
It's about the most vermin-y sounding ship name you can think of. Where if somebody just out in the world had a ship called the Blood Gullet, it's like, is that a Redwall name? You can't confuse it for anything else. It's very Jakesian.
Jakesian, I like that.
Yep. And after the last one, it said, it was a night for raiding. I was just like, Leroy Jenkins!
Oh, no. So we see just, I feel bad. We have Gorath, a badger who's living with his grandparents in the Northlands, where it's always brutal. Like, you always have the characters that's like, they came from the Northlands because they didn't want to be in the Northlands anymore.
Yeah.
Here we got characters where it's like, our lives are so bad, we're willing to go to the Northlands.
We're stuck in the Northlands. There was like one that I can't remember which book, but I think like the villains escaped from the Northlands was how it put it. They're like, we want to get the heck out of here.
I believe that was General Ironbeak and his flock of birds.
Oh, his flock of seagulls.
Yeah.
Yes. But we have Gorath trying to eke out a living as a farmer because his grandparents are too old to work. So he's the big, strong guy that, yeah, he can do the work, but there's so much of it, and it's so difficult that it's taxing even his body.
Yes. Poor guy.
It's just like, that's how hard this is. A, fully grown, like, newly adult male badger is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
That's how hard it is.
Yep. I like the little bits though, saying like he doesn't complain about it, like he just faces it on his own because his grandparents can't. So he's very kind to them. And I love the Ballad of Salamandastron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That his grandparents told him. And I like the fact that they say that Gorath is hearing tales of both Salamandastron and Redwall.
Yeah.
So it's like he has that like warrior instinct when he hears about Salamandastron, but isn't sure if he wants to become a warrior. And so when he hears about Redwall, he's like, oh, it sounds like such a wonderful place. Like, it kind of reminds me of Sunflash, where he was this powerful warrior, but such a gentle soul.
I got a lot of Sunflash parallels with this guy, actually. Just sort of their character, except for I think this guy's a little wilder than Sunflash. But, like vermin oppressing badger has bad results usually. So
yeah. Yeah. Sunflash eventually kind of was mostly going into Bloodwrath when he was like protecting others. Like if children were in danger, oh, you better get the heck away from him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And can we just pause for a moment and appreciate that the legends of Redwall and Salamandastron have endured for so long that they're still circulating throughout this world? Mm-hmm. And in particular, Redwall itself is a building, artificially constructed, versus Salamandastron, which is a natural fortification. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, between the end of Mossflower through our present story, Redwall went from a place of, oh, that place exists, to place of the magic swords and all you can eat buffet heaven.
Yes.
All you can eat buffet heaven.
I mean, am I wrong?
No.
There is a line later on that's like, there's always food to be had at Redwall.
Yep. So, I mean, it's really kind of impressive, just the knowledge of, oh, Redwall Abbey, that's that place.
Yeah, it's really cool, like, to look at Mossflower when they're thinking about, when they're like have the concept, when Abbas Germain is like mapping out what it should look like, and then in Legend of Luke when they're building it, and then Trimp comes up and she's like, I've never heard of Redwall, and Gomp's like, you won't be saying that in a couple seasons. And then in Outcast, when it's like this newly built building, and Abbas, what's her name, Miriam is going like, this is someday going to have a bell tower and a bell. And then in Mariel of Redwall, they get the bell, and just like all through the years, it comes to be what it is right now, which is really cool.
Yeah, you can see the little bits of story as it builds up in a place that's just like all the little things that it's known for, and just the little tiny elements that we've glossed over in the past. Just like, oh, what color do you think would best suit Martin the Warrior's fur? And it's like, oh, this color for the tapestry would work best. Well, how did you know that? Oh, just kind of a feeling.
Yeah.
Or thinking about also with Bellmaker and Salamandastron, we had and most of Redwall the book, we had the one bell, but ever since it's been the two bells. Mm-hmm. So like that even evolved. And they named one of those bells off the person who broke the first one.
Yes.
Yep.
And so Gorath, I'm sure he's going to live a much peaceful... Oh, hi, pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So. See the rats. See the sea rats. See the sea rats senselessly slaughter several civilians.
Right.
Yep. So,
Head wound. Big head wound.
oh yeah. God, he's trying to trump Martin.
Yep.
So chapter 2, the worst part of waking up is Longtooth spitting in your cup. Yeah, so Gorath is basically wakened because Vizca and his crew are attacking, and he gets bashed over the head with the mason chain from Vizca twice, I believe.
Yep.
Hmm.
Because the first time he like hits him, and then he looks up like, "What is going on?" And then Longtooth's like, "Aha, you've got a head like a rock," and he hits him again because
Yep.
He can.
I really wish Cuthbert was still around to give Longtooth and company a piece of their own medicine.
Right.
Oh.
What's that?
Imagine this: Cuthbert and Ranguvar Foeseeker versus an entire pirate ship.
I mean, what's his name? The otter with the sharp teeth.
Oh,
Fulgrim, yeah.
Yes,
Fulgrim.
Fulgrim. Throw him in the mix too.
Oh God!
The three of them. What's that line from Cuthbert's ditty? Oh, I dearly do love vermin. I oft times heard it said that the finest type of vermin are those vermin who are dead.
Right.
Yep. Like, I'll put it this way: Gorath, when Gorath is in like Dream World, he sees about 240 armed badger warriors. That's not even as scary as those three put together.
Right.
Though I will say this, I'm sure if a pirate ship saw 40 armed badger warriors coming at them, they'd raise the ocean level and turn it yellow.
I was gonna say, not a night for raiding. Let's turn around. And...
Yes.
That's a night for running.
Retreat!
Run! So I was incorrect in this because I think we figure out who it is after the fact, but where it said that there was a massive silver-coated patriarch far older than the rest, my assumption at first was that it was Stonepaw.
Oh, or it could be Brocktree because he's the more well known, I guess.
Gets top billing.
Yeah.
Stonepaw's like, oh, my kid's more popular than I am.
Right.
So that's a good point. But I believe I think it's supposed to be our upcoming Badger Lord. I think.
I don't remember.
Or
Mayhaps we will find out.
Stone Brock Eye. There we go.
There you go.
Stonepaw McGurney.
I like that.
Just picturing Stonepaw just like headbutting every vermin in his path.
I mean, that would be awesome.
Yes. So then we find out that, okay, so not only did the pirates capture Gorath and steal all the food and everything that he worked extremely hard to, get from the fields, they didn't just kill his grandparents. They locked them up in the barn and then set that on fire and left them to die.
Yeah, that's like unnecessary.
That's super dark. Okay.
Yep. And then
Yikes.
this was it a weasel? I believe it was a weasel who was telling them like, "Oh yeah, I didn't do a lot. What I did was I did this to the grandparents." And he unfortunately says that in range of Gorath.
Yeah, his neck snap.
Yep.
Blood wrath. Entirely expected at this point.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Yep. And then Visca immediately figures out what's going on. He goes, "Get away! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Yeah.
Get away from him!" So we see that Visca he's not stupid. He's smart. He's like, okay, I'm still gonna antagonize this guy, but I'm gonna stay well out of his range. I know exactly what's going on with him, and I'm going to turn him to the dark side.
I want a pet attack badger.
Mommy, can I have a badger? I'll feed him and clean up after him.
Actually, in this one, it's more like, Mommy, can I have a badger? I won't feed him and I'll torture him.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yep. And Visca brings up Ash-Eye, Lord Ash-Eye of Salamandastron, or Sammerstrong, as he believes it's called.
Yes. Hasn't it been called Salmon Strong before, too?
Probably. And so he then says, like, and then, they ask her, like, are you going to go there? And he goes, no. I'm not going there. I don't want to die. So yeah,
and
he wants
they call Gorath Rockhead. Well, actually, Visca decides, it's like, your name's Rockhead now. I don't care about what your real name is, because, you have a head like a rock. And it's like, well, that certainly explains why most vermin have such terrible names. They have no imagination when it comes to naming.
Yes.
Rockhead, could you have a head like a rock?
Floater, because you float. God. So we then find, he then says he wants to go to Redwall and take over that, which, it's slightly less suicidal because Redwall's not always ready to fight back against anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, points for going you're still probably going to get killed, but hey, at least you're not actively attacking the military base.
But he doesn't have the lore that other past vermin leaders have had, like Sonny Reth, been like, I don't want to go to Redwall. People die.
I value living too much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think he doesn't even know the name of it, too.
Oh, yeah, because he has to learn from the cook, like what it's called.
Yeah. And his cook is
Glerma.
Yep.
Glerma.
I wouldn't want to eat anything that she makes, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
the actor does a really good job playing her, too.
And between the voice acting and just the name, it sounds like an old fat rat cook.
Yeah.
And it also sounds like the sound you make after eating whatever she's made.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
just glurm it all over the deck.
I always think when vermin are cooking on a ship, like, this cannot be sanitary. They don't bathe. They probably don't wash their hands. I'm just like, nope.
It's like in. Did you ever see the movie Down Periscope?
Nope.
Oh, there's a scene in it where, like, the jokes that, like, the cook is terrible, or it's like there's stuff that's expired, and so, like, the XO's yelling at him. He goes, "This morning I found a fingernail in my soup. Yesterday it was a Band-Aid." And he goes, "Sorry, sir. Band-Aid was holding the fingernail on."
Oh no.
Yep, that's the idea with Glerma.
Yep.
It's call back to Rackety Tab with that song about the cook.
Yes.
I've seen him boiling cabbage, and the dirty little savage takes a bath in it to wash off all the muck. Ugh.
And then at the end of the chapter, we get again, dark, but also good moment. I like this line where Gorath glares at Kaj, who is Visca's younger brother, who his parents made take with him.
Yep.
He says, "I can talk, but I don't waste my breath speaking to dead beasts."
Mm-hmm.
And Kaj is like, "I'm not dead." And he's like, "You killed my grandparents, so I'm going to kill you."
My name is Gorath the Badger. You killed my grandparents. Prepare to die.
Oh,
Yes.
right. I said parents. It was grandparents. My bad.
Kaj isn't that bright. I mean, in fact, I think a low-burning candle is brighter than he is.
So, chapter 3, we go to Salamandastron, and we get a long patrol ballad, which I've said before, I do get tired sometimes when we have a lot of songs and there's an upcoming chapter where we have two in the same chapter. But the long patrol ones are usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like this one. And we're introduced to Lord Ash-Eye. And I really like this bit here where the only other kind of like very much more elder Badger Lord we've ever met was Stonepaw. And it sounds like he might actually have been older than Ash-Eye is, but it comments like how so long that Ash-Eye got all these wounds and suffered from blood wrath that it just completely took a toll on his body. And Krega, we got to see what happened with her, though, she kind of lived the rest of her life mostly in peace. In Marvel Fox, she did she did have a little bit of fun in that one.
I was going to say she did murder a ferret, but
Didn't she kill one? No, she killed one of the Marvel Foxes with a bow and arrow with someone to like point it here. Okay, let go.
Yep. And then she killed the ferret. So, she was.
Yeah. One of them was like, I'm going to be. Just never seen again.
Goodbye, vermin. You will be missed.
Yep. Krega didn't miss either.
Oh. Now, I know KD has some thoughts on Ash-Eye, and I know that because we talked about this like 2 days ago.
Yes.
So instead of me taking any soapboxing moments away from her, I'm just simply going to give a preemptive what she said and sit back with some popcorn.
All right. Getting on the soapbox. So Ash-Eye is old and infirmed. That is clear. The line that I bet all the listeners can see this coming, but the line that really just made me kind of stop and be like, I'm surprised to hear this coming from Jakes was the worst penalty by far was his blindness. I'm like, oh, okay. So you're going for the whole, you did bad things, so you're cursed with blindness thing. That's a very Old Testament Bible of you. What is this? Like, I was genuinely taken aback because the same person that gave us Krega and how she kind of grew into her blindness and like, I don't want to say overcame it because that's not what I'm really going for, but she lived a good, happy, long life. Just and learned to just be happy and to have her other senses like take over, like we all do. We adapt. And to just say, this is the worst penalty by far. And like, obviously, it's going to be a hardship. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, even though I've never lost my sight because I was born without it, I'm not going to say that there's not some grieving going on. But that doesn't mean that your whole life stops and it's the worst thing by far that's ever happened to you. That sort of attitude is why blind people are unemployed, because people think, oh my gosh, this person's blind. They can't do anything. Obviously, they live a terrible life and they can't have a job. And it's just dangerous and ableist language. And I'm really sad to see it coming from the same person that gave us Krega and Simeon. So, yeah, it just makes me sad. That's all I got to say.
I will say in one little point is it is coming from the character's point of view. So it's maybe the character sees it that way. And it does, I mean, at this point in it, maybe at some point he believed that, or maybe he's like, we actually don't, I mean, blood wrath is a fictional thing, so maybe it does cause damage to the eyes over time, as they do say, like, the eyes fill up with blood, which can't be a good thing.
Right.
Which can't not be good for you. Though with also Krega's situation was slightly different, where she ended up going to Redwall instead, whereas Ash-Eye has stayed at Salamandastron.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm just like, I mean, maybe it is from the character's point of view, but we also sometimes get these outside perspectives when Jakes is describing a character. And so I couldn't really tell if this was from his point of view or Jake's kind of inserting like, this is what this character's like, because he does that sometimes. So I was just really confused because I know that he knew blind people and he like, I will just never be okay with this. He was cursed with blindness type thing. Like, of course, like I'm if someone tells me that they're going blind or that they suddenly went blind, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. But it's not because I'm sorry that you're blind. It's I'm sorry that this huge change in your life has happened and that you've lost something important to you. It's like, you're going to be fine. I'm sorry right now for you because you have to learn to adapt, but you're going to be fine.
and I don't want to excuse any of that, but I did just have the thought strike me that he is kind of the opposite of Krugga in many ways, whereas the loss of her sight freed her from the shackles of Bloodwrath. He very much, from what we can tell, lived by Bloodwrath and embraced it in many ways, and perhaps was not so willing to give it up. So if there's any kind of like, oh, woe is me, it's like if that was what he saw as his source of power, he doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, and that's true. Still not okay with it.
Well, of course not. I don't expect you to
be. You've convinced me. Everything's fine.
Wow!
Everything is awesome.
You don't want Warner Brothers coming after us.
That was less than 30 seconds. It's fine.
Yep. Well, fine. Though I will say, on a positive note, Major Mullane Bragworth Barshaw is an awesome hair name.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do like him too.
Mm-hmm. Major Mull, as they call him.
Yes, I like the friendship that these two have.
Yep, I definitely like this. It kind of reminds me of like how Stonepaw had his like right hand hairs, and Earthstripe had his. Like there always seem to be like a couple hairs here and there that are like linked to the Badger Lord. Actually, all of them I think were in Mosslar, because there was only like 5 of them. But
yeah, there weren't very many of them.
No. Oh God, I misheard that. I thought you said there weren't hairy many of them.
Oh, that is not what I said, but it would definitely be worth a ding.
I even hear puns where they don't exist. So we then get so the Badger Lord says to Mole, "We need to talk," which that's never a good thing.
Right.
Whenever a Badger Lord says, "We need to talk," actually, pretty much whenever anybody says, "We need to talk," it's probably a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not, "I want to talk," or "We should talk." It's, "We need to talk."
Yes, it's like when my supervisor's like, "Can I talk to you for a second in my office?" I'm just like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble."
I mean, I think that's pretty much an innate response to any employee getting that from their boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's usually like
what boo-boo did I make? Did I offend somebody? Is somebody calling for my head on a platter?
Yeah. And it's so funny because the last time that happened, I came into the office and my supervisor's like, "So we're putting together a list of people who have priority to the vaccine, and was wondering if you'd like to be one of them." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, that's fine."
That's like last year. I was having a bad day at work. Like everything was going wrong on a technical level. And I was like late on a bunch of stuff and ended up doing like 2 hours of overtime. And like an hour into overtime, I got a meeting invite from my supervisor and my manager for the next morning. And I was like, "Oh God." Ended up being I was getting a promotion.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
But when I told them, my supervisor was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even think about that." I didn't even realize. Because I was like, "Oh God, am I going to get yelled at for messing up?" She was so apologetic, just like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think about that."
Oh dear.
Yep.
So the most recent one I got was from my boss, who's also the children's librarian, calling me in and was like, "What's going on?" "Oh no, it's nothing's wrong. I want you to make more room on the series book spinners, because I'm getting like 3 new series and expanding 2 more." It's like, "Oh, okay, I can do that."
That's fine.
And we then get a cool list of previous Badger Lords. He mentions Brocktree, Sunflash, and Boar, and like in full name too. And we get Earthclaw, which I know we never met Earthclaw, but was that supposed to be like Earthstripe's dad or grandfather?
So yeah. I always think of the mole there was a mole named Earthclaw and Sunflower.
Yeah.
Or Sunflower, what?
Sunflower.
Sunflower the dandelion.
I was thinking Sunflash, and I said Sunflower.
Sunflower the dandelion. He brings peace and love to the west, to the coast.
He's the hippie badger lord.
Like, peace and love to everybody, man. Eulalia, whatever.
Righteous.
He had a very different batch of salamander strain.
I mean, like, all you hair dudes are super groovy, but can we just, like, chill here?
They all just like hold hands. Whenever the pirates show up, he's like, let's just hold hands and sing Kumbaya together. Oh, God.
We don't have an habit to keep us on track. We're meandering on track.
Sorry, Pete.
If you're all wondering where Pete is, we tied him up and locked him up in a closet. He's stuck. He can't get out. I back to the main thing, but I really like the line, "The Lord of Salamandastron must be as wise as he's strong and warlike."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very good line, and it's shown that and it comes from Mole, like it doesn't come from Ash Eye, so it shows like the Long Patrol leaders have come to see what makes a great Badger Lord, and look, we all loved Krega. Krega was awesome, nothing against Krega. Her wisdom came after she had to step down.
Right.
Like let's all be fair. And hopefully Ron Blade calmed down a little bit after the events of Mariel Redwall. I don't think it's the making of a good Badger Lord to run off and massacre an entire pirate ship single-handedly and then fall asleep on it as it drifts off to sea.
Yes.
So, and we also get a riddle, which we get a really good twist where now it's the Salamandastron residents need to solve a riddle that will come into play later instead of the Redwallers. I like that.
Yeah.
And the riddle we have says, send forth a maid to seek out the flame to rule when the old lord is gone. And Mole is like, I don't know, it's kind of weird that we'd send this one maid. And I was like, sending one person in period is not a bad, is kind of a bad idea. But, and I didn't even think about this after the comments we made earlier. I said, though if Ranguvar Foeseeker were that maid, I think Vizca's entire crew would run scared.
Yeah.
So maybe it depends on which one, but
Yeah.
Also, it does come across as a tad sexist, where he's like, just what can one maid do? And it's not so much that it's the one part, but it seems like the emphasis, at least in the audiobook, was on one maid. And it's like, well, are you saying that it's because she's a girl, or are you equally likely to say, well, if it was a dude, it would also be useless? In which case, why are you doubting prophecy voices? Prophecy voices are always right in these books.
It's so funny because I was going to sort of go on the opposite side and be like, to me, it sounded like he's saying, what would one maid, as in just one person? I don't know why he specifically said maid, but it's funny that I didn't bring that up.
Yeah, I saw it as one person. He said maid because the poem specified that. And he does say, like, the way I read it was, I mean, what possible use would one maid be in the midst of an invasion upon Redwall? So, like, it's true. I mean, granted, he may not have heard the story of how Cornflower destroyed an entire siege tower, but...
Yes.
Or scared off an entire flock of crows and magpies.
Right.
Or how Sister May knocked them out without lifting a finger.
Yes, because of her magic strawberries.
Cornflower, the warrior's coming to haunt you.
And I just did want to mention the cute brother and sister who bring them their tea, and they're like racing. They always have races, and I think it's cool that Ashai is like aware of like all the different all the politics sort of around the mountain. Like he's observant, and he knows. He's like, they just are doing that because they're showing off for you, so you'll put them in the Long Patrol.
And Major Mullane's like, Really? You don't say.
We are then introduced to Assistant Cook Mad Moddy the Han, Mugsberry Thruple.
Yay! Otherwise known as my very favorite character in this entire book, and the reason that this book is sort of redeemed for me.
AKA Mad Body.
Yes.
Yep. My response to this was, that name is so ridiculous it goes the full circle from dumb to awesome. Hairs with
Yes.
long wacky names are my weakness.
I mean, we started with, early on, Beauclair feathering Zolkaz forting him, and it just accelerated from there.
Yep. And I love the fact that we get her full name multiple times throughout this section of the book. And it always has that, the Han, in parentheses. I love it. And after that, I was just like, I assumed with a name that long, she'd be our hairmaid that goes off to find Gorath. I mean, the mysterious badger whom we know nothing about.
Yep.
Who could she possibly be going to find? We don't know.
Tune in next time to find out.
Same hair time, same hair channel. Old chum.
Oh, chap, what?
Old chap. Yeah. So now we go to our only chapter that takes place in Redwall. For this section, at least.
Is it time for me to be grumpy yet? I think it's grumpy time.
Yes.
I have some grade A grump to deliver.
I'm not so grump. So we get there. Hang on. I have to comment on a couple of names first. Can I do that?
Oh,
did we?
Sure.
I can't remember if we've given Maudie the mission, right?
Oh, I just said I assumed that she was going, but yes. Maudie is apparently he's not happy when people criticize her cooking, apparently. So
Yes. I just love how she's like, only to say that if I had to do the whole thing again, I would hit him in his other eye too. I love that.
And she says that to the Badger Lord too.
Right.
She don't care. But I do like it was there. I mean, this is a military location, so it's like if you do stuff like hitting other people, they're probably going to take disciplinary action on you. But I like how Ashai is like, instead of just flat out kicking her out, because we soon find out that she's, a good fighter and everything. She's smart. But it's like, okay, I have a mission for you. I realize you're the one. You're the one.
Chosen one.
Chosen one.
This is your mission if you choose to accept it.
And if you don't, we're kicking you out anyway, so you might as well do something important.
And I like how it's sort of Major Mull is like, well, first of all, Ashai's like, I'm going to have to kick you out, like at first. And then Maudie just starts crying, and Mull is like, can we think of something else? I really like this kid. Which I thought was kind of cute.
Yeah.
I have to punish you. I don't want to, but you keep doing breaking rules things.
Yeah.
I can't have you beating people.
Just because they don't like your soup.
Yeah. So now, what's it? Chapter 4, which we start off with Abbot Dacus and Grand Spike Niblo.
Yes. Whale.
Who was the Abbey beekeeper, which is something new. We usually don't have a beekeeper.
I think I've heard of I just started like 4 different sentences. Sorry. I think we've had beekeepers before, but they also had a second job along with beekeeper.
Yeah, in Pearls of Lutra, I think we had one. Because
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep. But yeah, we've never had anyone that's specifically a beekeeper. So that's unique. I like that. And so they're looking. So Dacus and Niblo. All right. And I was just like, I'll let that slide for now.
Sounds like Abbott and Costello, like a comedy.
Hey, Dacus. Well, he is the abbot, so
Yes.
So yeah, we also get formal birth, which sounds like They're like, what are you going to name him? And like the parents burped. And when they're like, all right, Burf, that's his name.
I think it's kind of a mole name, though. I didn't find it.
This is true. This is true. Uh, so they're looking for a little scallywag named Orkwill Prink. You know, maybe he's acting out because you named him Orkwill Prank.
Well, that was his parents' fault. That's what they named him.
I was just like, oh, his parents named him Orkwill and then left him behind. Luke's looking like Father of the Year compared to his parents.
Yeah, his parents sound not so great, but like when I can't remember who said it, if it was the Abbot or Niblo, but they're like, we should have known better than to take a Prink into our Abbey or something like that. I'm like, no, that's bad. That's a bad sign of things to come that me and Matthias are both going to talk about.
That's Prinkist.
Yes.
I'm loading the rant cannon here.
Yeah.
Right, I will have one last thing to comment on, and this actually ties into something in our fanfiction episode. There's a line where it describes the Abbey, and it says, each section of the wall had a soft wicker gate built into it. And I feel like that should have been prefaced with, as every villain in the franchise knows.
Yes.
Close the blinking door.
Yeah. Close the prinking door.
Oh no. Is Prink the new Hom?
Yes.
No. We also get Chandras and a Trata. All right.
It's a Trotta, I believe. But
Oh, okay.
which sounds a little bit more sophisticated. But
Yeah, the last little bit with the notes, with the name notes, and then I will let Matthias light the fuse and fire. I do like the name Benjo Tips for a hedgehog. It kind of reminds me of Bally Pin Tips. Or Bully? Or
Bully, yep.
Okay. And then when I read Fen Blue Paw, I read it too fast and I thought it said Blue Fen. And I was like, she's back and she wants a starring role!
Blue Fen Paw.
Blue Fen Paw. She's in disguise. But I do like the name Fen Blue Paw. I think that name is fine.
I wish it was put on a better character, though. She's mean.
She is not a good person. And but the name Blue Paw makes sense because she's the Abbey recorder, so of course her paws would be blue. They'd be stained with ink.
Right.
I like that. I can't remember who it was, but there is an Abbey bell ringer, which we don't get many of those either.
Is it Marja Dubbage? Or whatever her name is? Yeah.
Yep.
She's a vole.
Yep. And also, I learned a new word, feckless.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, is that a word? And I looked up it is. Lacking initiative or strength of character. Irresponsible.
Look at you, Jakes, teaching the kids new words and the adults new words.
Build that vocabulary one word at a time.
Okay, so I will now step out of the way before I get hit by the rant cannon.
Yes, I have loaded the rant cannon with almost all of the soapboxes. I need to leave at least one or two for Katie.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, people. Here's a twist from the last time. I won't be doing a rant.
So, we get introduced here to our Redwall protagonist, Orkwill Prink. And he's both a thief and an orphan. Big shock there. And
Orphans at Redwall?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
No.
It's like, where do they come from, man?
At least in this case, we know his parents aren't dead, so it's like, that's one point, I guess.
But they abandoned him, which is a lot darker. Like, that's...
This is true. We've never had abandoning parents before. We had an abusive one back in Tagarong, and he got what came to him.
Right. I was going to say, this is not supposed to remind me of juvenile court. This is supposed to be my fun stuff.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Sorry, Matthias.
It's not... well, I mean, it reminds you of juvenile court. It reminds me of, YA literature, where it's like, oh, your circumstances are terrible. Here, you have to overcome all this. I have read way too many Dust Jacket summaries where it's like, character put into this hardship of life and never treated right. And I can't tell you. I've come across at least 3 books that are set in like a dystopia setting where it's like, oh, you're only allowed to have 2 kids. So when you have that third kid, ooh, they're a secret now. So
Matthias got an even more tragic backstory in the cartoon. Is they're like, we're going to give him a sister and then immediately kill her.
Yes.
Myrtle! Myrtle!
Goodbye, Matthias.
Hurt.
Anyway, back to rant. None of the Abbey elders seem to trust Orquil, with varying degrees from just base suspicion to threatening physical harm. And only Grand Spike Niblo seems to have any kind of trust in him whatsoever. And it's not so much trusted as it is like maternal affection. Like she's kind of adopted him, but even she's still mistrusting and mistreating him to a certain extent.
She slaps him in the face. Sorry.
Yeah, and he's just it's not great. And it's like he's just shattered it with his latest escapades where she doesn't trust him at all anymore. And, his parents were thieves as well and generally mistrusted by the Abbey dwellers as well. And, I mean, we see he gets mistreated for his thieving in a most un-Redwall-like manner. I mean, he's spoken of behind his back like a shameful family secret. Like, oh, you don't want to talk about him. He's bad news. And while he's ultimately responsible for his own actions and his thieving, I blame the elders for doing such a poor job in raising him to begin with. It's like he was, from what we can tell, only like a Dibbon when he was discovered and brought to the Abbey. So you'd think the elders would have made more of an effort to correct his behavior. Nope. We see him get told, stealing is wrong. You know it's wrong. Why do you keep doing this? You mean you never asked him before? Lesson 1 in most daycare centers and preschools is usually how to share and why stealing is wrong. And I mean, even if Orquil is doing this completely due to some mental illness or trauma or whatever, you'd think the abbot could have tried to instill empathy in the kid. Stealing hurts your fellow Redwallers and makes them sad. See? It's not that hard. But if you keep saying, no, stealing bad, without any other explanation, of course he's not going to change. You haven't addressed the root of his problem. So what? You'll just continue to emotionally abuse a young teenager with impulse control problems and give him an authority complex to go with it? Great idea. Maybe you can fix the next Storm Gullwhacker by stuffing her into a bath against her will. I mean, I hear it builds a ton of trust. Yeah, right. So the Abbey elders' prejudice and poor parenting aren't helping anyone, least of all Orquil. As we'll see, he's trying hard. It's not like he's doing this completely maliciously, like rubbing his hands together. No. It just seems like everyone that he encounters holds him in contempt. And this is his way of, like, acting out against it. So, now this is not to say that I love him as a character. I hate a ton of the stuff that he does in this book. And his whining is insufferable.
It is.
But that's the hallmark of a really well-written, well-realized character, isn't it? Irrationally hating a fictional character so much that you stew on it for hours? I did. I was shelving books on Thursday and just pushing this cart around, just thinking, okay, what is wrong with this character? Why am I hating him so much? And just mulling it over as I'm stuffing things back on shelves.
You're major mulling it over?
Yes.
Ding.
Ding.
Oh.
So by that logic, are you saying that Scarum was a good character?
I think he's a well-realized character. I don't think that makes him a good character.
I quickly realized that I didn't like him, so I mean,
Yeah. So, is Orquil guilty? Yes. Is he deserving of the punishment he gets? Mostly yes. Does this mean he bears all the blame? 100% no. Okay, rent cannon done.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Niblo, when she finally, it says she snapped and slapped him in the face and said something about his no good ma and pa. I'm like, how many times do you think that Oracle has overheard people gossiping about his parents and saying how like what a bad lot they were and how they abandoned him? And so every judge in the juvenile court that I have been to, every judge will tell parents or tell anyone, guardians, whoever, you do not talk bad about the parents in front of the child. Even if the parent is the worst person you could possibly imagine, even if they killed your cat, even if they did terrible things, you do not talk bad about the parents in front of the child, because that is going to affect the child and it's going to put the child in the middle and is going to have very adverse psychological effects on this kid. So stop talking about the parents. I don't care how bad they were. I don't care what they stole from you. I don't care if they stole your golden earrings or whatever. Just stop. Like, treat this kid like his own person. Stop comparing him to his parents. The end.
Can I talk now?
You can talk now. I give you permission. You can talk now.
Thank you.
Your 30 seconds starts now.
30 seconds.
25 seconds.
I will say, one, I think the elders in this room are also acting like children as they keep like talking out of turn and like jumping in and commenting, and the abbot has to keep going, shut up!
Yes.
And I do like how Abbot Dacus is able to quickly get control over them and telling them to shut up and like, wait your turn, I will get to you. Raise your hand, I have the speaking ball. They need that rock from the
I was just
Gaussum.
going to say that. Yeah. The Blackstone.
Yeah. I do feel like this is a better version of how Vale was dealt with in Outcast, because in that book, everyone immediately pegged him as like a horrible little demon child. So, like, we literally, our first introduction to Vale was as a little baby and everything. The very next time we saw him was the friar going, something was stolen, and he grabs Vale by the ear and like wrenches him over. It's like, what'd you do with it, you little ham?
I mean, we do have something similar, though, because Fen Bluepaw and the bell ringer lady are definitely yelling at him.
This is true. Though, when they do make the decision to, or like the suggestion to boot him out for a season, Fen and Marja are iffy on it at first. So I'll give Fen that. She's at least like, oh, maybe, she even sees that as like, that might be a little much.
Oh, I read that completely differently. I saw it as she wanted him gone, like forever.
Oh, no, because so here it is. So the abbot says, thank you, Berth, that's the ideal solution. Are we all agreed on that? Every beast held up their paws with the exception of two, Fen and Marja.
Right, but before that, she said, if it were me, I would send him packing away from the abbey.
Oh, okay. So, then that makes no sense then. It's like, I'd send him out forever. Oh, you only want to send out for a season? I don't know.
Yeah, I read it as she didn't think that they were being harsh enough.
Okay. So, so basically she was like, no, I want him gone. Forever. Right. Throw him in a bottomless pit.
I don't know. How did you read that, Matthias? Did you read that the same way, or?
I read it more as I'm not sure that this is a good enough punishment, but at the same time, I don't want to look like the aggressor here. Because, I mean, if you look at this whole proceeding outside of the abbot, despite whatever prejudice he might have had, running a roughly fair trial here, and okay, you're going to punish this kid by potentially kicking him out. That's what the suggestion is. Do you want to be the one that's responsible for saying, yeah, we are getting rid of him, and then have the possibility of him dying out there and have that on your head for the rest of your life? to be known for the, yeah, I was upset because somebody stole this book I made. So I got him killed.
I just about to die. And I will say, I like that Grand Spike is a essentially better version of Brioni or Bryony. It's instead of like no, it's like she's like, well, on the one hand, I've tried raising him. On the other hand, he's a thieving little hom. So
Yes.
so he also like Orwell's reaction too at first is like. He understands or he doesn't think it's that big of a deal that he'll only be gone for a season. He quickly finds out the other, otherwise.
Yes.
In the very next chapter that he's in. God.
Yeah, but at the very end of this chapter, he's out on the path. He's got like a couple of days rations and a staff, and he's just like, Yahoo! And it's like, it's very telling that he finds the prospect of being free of the Elder's oversight to be the best thing that's ever happened to him. Granted, he'll be regretting that here just in a couple of chapters, but it's the thought that counts. Like, that tells you the level of treatment that he's receiving. Whether or not that treatment is justified aside, he feels like he's being unjustly persecuted. So the thought of basically being on his own for an entire season is like Christmas.
This is the story all about how my life got turned upside down. Now sit right back and listen right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of thieves and mossflower.
Hey, that doesn't rhyme.
I was just hanging out, chillaxing all cool, stealing some stuff outside the Abbey School, when a couple of elders who thought I was up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I stole one too many things, and the abbot got mad, and he said, "You're going to live out in Mossflower for a season."
Lad.
Yeah, put lad at the end of there.
Lad. All right.
We're sorry, Pete. We should never have let Jeremy freestyle.
So chapter 5, Vizca's a cruel, cruel monster.
Yes.
Yeah. Gorath has just been chained to the mast and slumped out on the deck, not being fed and only able to drink because rainwater falls on him,
and he's very wounded.
Yeah, he's wounded. Also, we didn't mention that he's woken up on the ship because they threw salt water on him, so that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And now he's getting seasick. Seasickness is no joke. Poor dude.
Yes. And it's even worse if you already have a headache. Like, headache equals nausea equals not great time.
But then we also see that, true to form, Visca's crew is stupid.
Yes.
I have to ask, you think Vermin crews would know not to speak out of turn when the main villain's around, or talk back? It's like, I just wonder if the joining process usually goes like this, where the Vermin leader sits down with him, for an interview. It's like, I see you like killing the innocent and pillaging riches and randomly talking out of turn. Yes, sir. Now, do you have any questions about my leading ability? Well, I hear you kill your underlings. Is that true? Not all the time. Sign me up! This was Grivel.
Grovel.
Yep, and Misheaven's like, if you keep hitting him, he couldn't be too far off from dead if you ask me. And he's like, but I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
Yep. I do like it too when Visca then knocks him on the floor and he's like, poor Grivel can't hold his grog.
Yeah, it's just this crew. The reason Visca seems smart is because the rest of them are just so incredibly stupid that in comparison, he's a genius.
I'm sorry, I still think he's a better leader than Rigu.
At least probably.
He's accomplished something so far. What victories did Riku ever have?
There was the time he did the thing at the
There was
thing.
the time he didn't get burned alive inside his own house and then ran outside and got a rock through the brain.
Yeah.
God. So it's like this guy's like a total monster. I'm fine disliking a villain because they're a deplorable monster, not because they're an incompetent moron. With an annoying family.
And getting your face ripped off by a giant bird of prey.
And getting injured due to your own stupidity. And so, yeah, we find out that Visca still believes that he's going to be able to break Gorath and get him on his side, which, good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's,
And trying to tempt prisoners with food by placing it just out of reach is a real scumbag move. But then again, this crew is 100% scumbags, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and I love how he offers him some food, and then when he doesn't want it, he just throws it off the side. I'm like, you are wasting food in front of a starving person. You are terrible.
Yep. And we see that there might be some mutiny going on, too, where a few members of the crew are like, I don't really like Visca. I mean, if my brain were a pair of sticks, they couldn't even start any smoke, but I don't like him and I should be in charge. And then we find out that Visca has a spy named Snikey, and I'm sure he will come into play much... Oh, he's dead.
Yep.
Snikey is sleeping with the fishes.
Yep. Bye, Snikey.
I did kind of like that name, though. It's a fun vermin name. Snikey.
This is true. We hardly knew Yi. Seriously, we barely knew who he was because he was only mentioned like twice. Yep. And just a random thought, which this comes back later. I was like, if Snikey is or was, I guess in this case, Visca's spy, won't Visca notice that he's gone?
Maybe.
Just a thought. I mean, I had one thought there, which is probably more than this entire crew has ever had in the span of their entire lives. So,
thinking hard, it hurt.
It's like when you in cartoons, so where somebody's trying to think and it shows the thought bubble of a square peg trying to slam into a round hole.
I was thinking more along the lines of they get this look of extreme, screwed up concentration, and you see smoke pouring out their ears.
This is the type of crew where Visco would be like, "Are you pondering what I'm pondering?" And the crewmate goes, "Well, I think so, Captain, but I have a question." "Yes? What's pondering mean?"
I was thinking more along the lines of, I think so, but why is the badger going to do the hula for us?
Wow.
Yep. But chapter 6, we are once again we have Maudie the Han, Mugsberry Thruple.
Yes.
She's off on the adventure of a lifetime. I bet it'll be completely boring and absolutely nothing will happen.
Yep. We also she keeps repeating what her instructions were, which find a bloomin' badger, one who knows not his own strength, a beast from the simple life who shuns armor and knows not the sword. And then she starts mixing things up, and I'm like, maybe you should have written this down.
Yeah.
Because eventually she goes, find a blinking badger with destiny marked on his armor, or something like that, or one who shuns the simple sword for life and walks with the confounded fear of a flame and banished one. Oh my giddy aunt.
Yes. It's great.
Yeah. I do like the bit of her decision of where to go because she's literally given no instructions outside of this little bit. And so she's like, she throws sand into the air, sees where the wind blows it, and just goes, all right, I'll go that way.
Yep.
Good enough for me.
Yep. And then we get something that is unprecedented in the series. I don't know if you're ready to hear this. A hare sings about food.
What?
I know. It's never happened before. What do we do? What do we do?
I think we must press on.
I
Right.
don't know. I'm confused. What?
Yeah. It's okay. Oh, It's groundbreaking stuff in this book right now.
Yeah.
In case everyone couldn't tell, we were being sarcastic.
Us sarcastic? Yeah, right.
Never. So she runs into a mole named Bungwin the Hermit.
I love this guy.
I think Bungwin is kind of a doofy name, but you know what? I'll give it a pass because I think it's funny that he calls Maudie moldy.
Yeah. I also love how he's like bawling. She's like, "That's the saddest song I've ever heard." She's like, "Oh no, you know, please don't cry." He's like, "Why? I like crying." She's like, "Oh, okay, well then keep on crying then."
I mean, real talk here for a moment. A good cry every once in a while is a great release for all sorts of pent-up emotions.
It is, yeah.
It's like tears are a shower for your psyche.
Right.
It's like clean all that emotional gunk out there. Yeah, you feel better now. It's like, yeah, I do.
So then, I do like the mole tugged his snout politely, as good-mannered moles do.
Yes.
As we all know,
Yes.
This is how moles behave.
Yep. And then as Maudie goes into Bungwin's little cave and about to eat, a bunch of lizards show up and try to start some trouble in their neighborhood.
No, not again.
Maudie gets in one little fight and Bungwin got scared. Anyway, so we get a good showing, though. Maudie goes outside to see a bunch of lizards and whatnot and just goes, "All right, you guys should buzz off now, or else I'm gonna beat all of you." And they're like, "She's gonna! Oh God, she's beating us!"
So you could say, a leaping leoparday leaves lizards lying limp, languishing lumps lethargically. Lovely.
Indeed.
Yep. And she kind of makes me think of a slightly older Dottie, except she can actually cook and sing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean that in a very good way, of course. Miss Dottie was cool. And so Bungwin's like, "That was awesome." Matthias, you mentioned that at the beginning of chapter 9 they misspelled her name as Mugberry instead of Mugsberry.
Yes.
On page 41 of the paperback, they do that too.
Huh.
Uh-oh. Editor's taking a nap.
Yep.
Let's see. Page 41.
Second paragraph.
Oh, I see that. Huh.
Yeah.
Some editor did not do their job. Okay, let me quickly check on the hardcover.
Okay.
Because the misspelling in chapter 9 is in both editions.
Okay, so yeah, I'm wondering if this is too. Yeah, and at the beginning of the chapter, on the very first page of chapter 6, it does say Mugsberry. I do like how her title got even longer, because it's not for nothing was Maudie the Hun, Mugsberry Thruple, regimental boxing champion of the Long Patrol.
Yes.
I want like a whole paragraph that's just her name and title now.
Yep, it's misspelled in the hardcover and the paperback, both of them.
Nice. I should check my Braille copy to see if it got corrected. Probably not.
So that will be on Mugsberry and Mugberry watch throughout the rest of the book now.
Although, what if she had like a mug that was shaped like berries? Mugsberry's berry mug.
Oh, there you go.
So anyway, Bungwin says that that was awesome, and he goes like, "By the way, as you go, keep a lookout for Asio or Asio."
Asio. Yeah, either that. Yeah, either one. Bardwing. It was a lovely owl. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know where this was written. Oh. And when she thinks she's being followed, she goes, "You blighters are dealing with a Long Patrol boxing champion. Did you know Big Stinky Wathers?" and Nutpaw Jarkins, Sideswiper Smythe, and Fearless Frank McLurch. I love these names.
Yes.
They're
I love
so
how
ridiculous.
Stinky, the name Stinky got recycled from a vermin name to a Long Patrol name.
When I saw Nutpaw Jarkins, I was like, okay, she made that one up.
Or did she?
Yep. And she also comes up with wonder if Corporal Thwirl, which I did note that Thwirl kind of reminds me of the name Fwirl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tagarung. But she does say, like, when she gets back, Struth, if I make a bloomin' good go at this, Lord Asha will probably promote me to Colonel Cook in Charge, CCIC.
Yeah.
There the hairs go again with needlessly anagramming stuff when it doesn't make sense to try to anagram it. Because
acronym
hairs.
it?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, and so the chapter ends with her being knocked out by the lizards because they've returned.
Yes, or at least tied up by them.
Yes.
And,
But-
I mean, what is it with reptiles and amphibians always coming back to seek revenge?
Yes. This is not the first time this has happened.
Nope.
And I
There's
doubt it'll
no-
be the last.
And-
I can't remember.
Though the warden of Marshwood Hill isn't here, well, we'll see.
Someone else might be the law, although
Yep.
he's a lot less formal.
Yep. Formal? Well, he's not over here.
But what about 5 mole?
I can just hear the groaning from every listener.
They're groaning 5 ever.
I can hear Pete's groans from here. Somehow his future groans are resonating back to the past, and I'm picking up on them.
Yeah.
Time
eye
traveling
rolling is-
groans.
The eye rolling is particularly loud.
Well, when we get on a roll, sometimes it might be butter if we don't start to begin with.
Oh no.
I mean, we have better options. Especially when it comes to wry comments.
Oh, that joke must have been made out of paper because it was terrible.
I'm very outnumbered.
Outpunbered?
Yes.
All right, so chapter 7. Orkwell Prink is having a bad life because I'm sorry, this is cruel, but I don't care. I found this hilarious, where he's running around and everything, and then we get a sentence that just says, "Then he tripped and fell into the ditch."
Yeah. So I gotta say, when I first read this audiobook, I thought that I didn't like the voice actor's portrayal of Orkwell, and now I'm just realizing he's just really good at playing whiny.
Yeah.
He's really good at whining.
Yeah, our thief here gets a taste of the wider world, and it's really not a nice experience for an inexperienced traveler.
Nope.
And Rusa would be most displeased.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I would
This
love
guy-
to have her school him. Be like, well, you fell into the ditch again.
Yep. Now you got to get yourself out of there.
Yeah.
She just-
feel...
Leaning on her stick there, looking over the side of the ditch. I'm waiting. We have
Yep.
a lot of ground to cover today.
Yep. I'm going to enjoy some of these pancakes up here while you deal with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like they kind of should have done that, where like send him off with someone like Rusa that would have helped like teach him, the ways of the forest or things like that.
Maybe they
Yeah.
didn't have anybody like that was willing to take him. It's like, we have a mission. Oh, okay. What kind of mission is this? You want to watch Orkwell for a season just out in Mossflower? No. Well, we tried.
Just see one. Do you want to watch Orkwell? I'm sorry to spontaneously vomit it. I thought you said you wanted me to watch Orkwell by myself for a season. um, he then gets his stuff stolen by magpies, and I wonder if the magpies think he has some of Redwall's famous magic strawberries.
Probably.
He then gets very angry because they steal all his food. Huh. Man, so Orkwell, you're telling me that you don't like it when people steal your stuff? Huh. Just, I think there's a word for that.
I was thinking more of a particular expression that had to do with kettles and pots and something.
I have something similar. I do believe he just got a heaping helping of his own medicine, and I bet it tastes like warm nettle broth.
Yeah, I had a similar comment, except it was a bitter pill to swallow. But yours is better because it actually makes a Redwall reference. It's topical.
And then,
I also want to point out before we get too much further, he has this kind of really super uncomfortable to read fantasy about, well, what if something should happen to him and they come across his limp carcass and forever mourn the loss and what they inflicted on him, and it's just like, that self-centered fantasy is super hard to read because it is too real.
It is so realistic. So, like, I could see my 11-year-old self in a pitying mood coming up with something just like this. Well, I bet you'll be sorry if I die.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm 100% totally not basing this on any personal experiences whatsoever. Stop looking at me like that.
Okay. So anyway, so he finds a vole who, even bigger surprise than the hare singing about food. This vole is a jerk.
Well, I mean, genuine surprise is this is probably the most evil vole outside of Droop in the entire series.
Yeah,
this is very true.
Most voles are just sort of like, kind of neutral or like gray leaning or sort of like out for their own interests. This vole is just like, I'm gonna shoot you with an arrow.
This is true.
I'm outright antagonistic, and if you don't do it like I say, you dead.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he is the first of many to refer to Orkwell Prink as Orful Stink.
Yes.
Which I might accidentally call him that at random points throughout the book. Sorry, not sorry.
Accidentally.
And so, you know what, like, to a point, though, I would feel sorry for Orkwell if, A, he hadn't been responsible for his own banishment, and 2, Gorath has it far worse than him.
Right.
So,
wait, did you just say A and then 2?
He did. I thought you did that on purpose.
I
as
did.
Like an ironic thing. Okay.
A2, Jeremy?
At 2, Matthias?
But I think when he does meet Gorath, it gives him some well-needed, much-needed perspective on, oh, hey, at least I'm not starved and wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I was taking a sip of water. God.
Sorry.
There would have been a lot more than a mic bump. Oh, God. So, yeah, then these two rats or whatever they are, the rats, they find, he sees these two rats show up at the vole's place, and they knock him out and steal his food. So Orkwell decides to knock them out and then takes the food, which, you know what, I think he's entitled to that food.
Yes, but he's very lucky this did not go terribly wrong, because he just like grabs the club or something and knocks both of them out before they can see him. But if he was a little bit slower, they'd probably have added him to the soup.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think everything's looking up for him until he wanders into a swamp and starts sinking while going to sleep.
Yeah, bad plan. Bad plan.
The protagonists of this book have the worst luck ever.
I would say it's not so much bad luck as in, how do I want to put this? Impulse control combined with really, really poor judgment.
Mm. Yep.
Yep.
Back to more happy times on the Blood Gullet.
Happy times, you say?
Sarcasm alert. Sarcasm alert. Yeah, it was at this point where I said, Glurma might be the grossest sea rat ever, and she's the cook.
Yes.
As it said, he returned with Glurma, the fat, greasy rat wife who was the ship's cook.
Yep.
Just, ew. And she goes, nod at a dirty paw claw. She's cooking with that.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm not eating anything aboard that ship.
Yep. And then the golden fox cuffed her Glurma's paw away from her mouth. He's probably like, good, stop that. This is gross.
I have just one question. Is she stirring the porridge with a rusty hook?
Maybe. That might be an improvement.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Personally, I think she's just randomly like running her paw through her greasy fur and sucking on it, and then uses that to stir her food.
Sticks her face in the bowl. Tastes fine.
She just goes.
It
Sorry.
adds seasoning.
Sorry
What?
to anyone who may be eating right now.
Yeah, normally you want to eat while discussing like Redwall food. This is not the case in this book. No.
Well, Redwall food and sea rat food are two very different things.
Oh yeah.
One of them stretches the definition of the word food to its breaking point.
And then there's Captain Slip's cooking.
I will say, at least we did hear in Mariel of Redwall when all the captains went off to grab some Scillian duff, at least they were like, well, this is, we made some good food. So it's like, I guess not all the pirates are terrible cooks. They're all terrible people, but they're not all terrible cooks. Okay, not all terrible people. Blaggett was cool.
And so was Romska. Anyway.
This is true. And so Visca finds out about Redwall Abbey. And, sure, everything will be just fine when he goes there.
Wow.
Yep.
Why are we laughing knowingly? I'm not sure.
Because we've read 18 books in this series, so we know where this is going.
Oh, that's why.
I do like the little consistent bit here because, like, we kind of get that with each of the villains where each one has, like, this little quirk or something we see pop up a lot. Whereas the consistent bit in this one is whenever Visca smiles, it means everyone else won't be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like Farago, too. He and Farago may have been friends or immediately assassinated each other. I don't know. But
Why not both?
yeah.
Like, whenever we see it a lot though with the villains, where whenever they start looking or actually acting nice, you know something really horrible is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Hey, you three right there. I'm picking you three at random. Grivel, Fearog, and Durgi. You know what? You guys want to lead? Well, how about you fight each other to the death to decide who goes?
And
Disclaimer, the fact that you guys have mutinous talks about me is completely irrelevant to this.
Mm-hmm. And so Grivel and Fearog immediately die.
Yep.
And Grivel's like, we ain't got no choice. So Fearog immediately just runs him through, and then Durgi stabs him in the back, and then that's the end of that.
Yep.
Yep.
Visca pulls a Gabwool here and gets rid of 3 malcontents without alienating his crew.
Mm-hmm.
Before Gabul went insane, he was actually not stupid.
Yeah. I mean, even after he went insane, he wasn't exactly stupid. Just his insanity filtered his sense of reality through a very, very murky lens.
This is true. He even, because he even had that moment with the sea rat he thought was Grey Patch, and that guy was too dumb to realize that Gabul was leading him to his own doom.
Right.
And so then Durgi's like, hey, I'm gonna lead now. And he goes, and after you slayed 3 of my crew, and he's like, and Kaj is like, it's only 2. He's like, Snikey, yeah, I totally noticed that my spy was missing, you morons. Durgee's like, he's like, you thought you fooled me, didn't you? But the captain knows everything, don't he, Cookie? And Glorm is like, what? Right to the food. Yep.
I know lots of stuff.
Yep. And so then I do like it that. So Vizca earlier mentions to Kaj, like, after I take over Redwall, I'll make you captain. And he does put Kaj in command of, like, the landing party and everything. So, like, he's actually not just saying that to get Kaj to follow him. He's actually giving him responsibilities.
I think there is some affection between these brothers. I'm not quite sure how much, especially from Vizca's side of things, but I think there is some.
Yeah, like they're not constantly fighting each other or anything. Like, it's clear that Vizca is smarter than Kaj. I mean, granted, most of these sea rats are, I mean, I'd say they're dumb as a mud fence, but that'd be insulting to piles of mud.
And
but
mutters.
Hello, mother. Hello, father.
Oh, no.
And so then I love it, too, where Vizca's just like, oh, you know, it's going to be good times ahead. Except for Durgee. All right, you guys take care of that. I'm going to go sit in my room. And just Durgee's like, no! And he's just like, ah, a sad day indeed. That was good.
Yep.
And then we get a bit with Gorath where he's still not doing well, and he dreams of a mouse, which it says that he wore armor and carried a shining sword. I honestly believe this is Gonf pretending to be Martin, because only Gonf will say, "Watch for the young thief."
Yeah.
Okay, now I know Gonf is behind these riddles.
Mhm.
It's like, sure. No.
And I continue to feel nothing but sympathy for Gorath. He suffered so much.
Yeah.
That's
Help
why
is coming, dude. Help is coming. It's on its way.
that's why I don't feel as bad for Orkwell, because Gorath just has it way, way worse.
Yeah, we've had a couple stories, or at least one with Outcast, about a badger who was enslaved, but we don't really get a lot of details in Outcast about how Sunflash was treated, because the beginning of the story was right when he was escaping. So this gives us, oh yeah, he's beaten and starved and teased, and he has a giant head wound, and he's seasick, and he's got no medical treatment whatsoever, and he's just like on the brink of death.
And his life before this wasn't exactly like all sunshines and rainbows and everything either. Like, he had it tough. I mean, he at least had a loving grandparents, but he was forced to do all like the labor by himself and make sure everything moved forward. And the fact that it even mentioned at one point all their crops died, like, he has not had a fun life.
Yeah.
Chapter 9, the Han. Sorry, I love that every time that shows up. And so
Bugberry Thropple.
Yep. I like it says, was neither a whiner nor a pleader. And so basically, like, she's tied to a tree surrounded by probably flesh-eating lizards, and one of them tries getting near her, and she kicks him in the stomach, and as he, like, doubles over, she kicks him again in the butt and sends him flying.
Yep.
And then she's like, "You'd better untie me or I'll beat you up while I'm tied to the tree."
Why is she just the best character in this whole book?
She's great. She's so good.
Because those reasons that we just read.
Yes.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Like Cuthbert, Maudie, we're getting some good hair characters.
I think
like
I think Cuthbert would be very happy to adopt Maudie as his daughter.
Mm-hmm. I can see, you know what? Apology accepted for Scarum. These two are so much better. So then, but you know what? I will bet she'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Ding. Although, I mean, that's a little hypocritical because I have one coming down the pipeline here in just like 30 seconds.
Every time you ding, you should ding twice. One for yourself, one for Jeremy.
So the lizards decide to celebrate their favorite Queen song, "We Will Rock You."
Yes. Ding.
And you know what? Maudie, she doesn't have any salamander strain, but she's about to get stoned.
I
I'm not acknowledging that one.
Huh?
I had a mouthful of water. That's why I didn't ding.
And I'm ignoring that one just out of hand.
So then, all of a sudden, an owl shows up, frees Maudie, and then goes, "I'm gonna go kill and eat some lizards."
I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
Yep, Azio Bardwing, yet another Brawn solves everything owl. So would
Yes.
that make him a bird brain?
One moment. Pun bell.
Okay, that works. I don't
We've
have
got
anything
Foley.
bell-like near me. Yeah,
Huh?
no, sorry. I don't have anything bell-like near me. I have my book. I'll knock on the book. Okay, that doesn't work.
It's the Abbey. You're using the Abbey log from Mariel Redwall.
Yes. Oh.
There we go. And then the abbot rang his tiny bell that Joseph made.
I
So
bet Pete is really regretting not being here to rein us in.
We cannot be controlled.
So yeah, he flies. He comes back and then burps.
And he has like a tail that he like slurps in. Like, sorry about that.
Oh yeah, that was pretty gross.
He does spaghetti pasta with a lizard tail, just like.
Oh, now I'm just like picturing that comparison makes me think of him meeting a female owl, and it's like Lady and the Tramp, but with a lizard tail.
Oh no. That's kind of awesome.
Oh, that's wrong on all levels, and I love it.
Oh god. So we do find out Osseo's not exactly, he's kind of missing a few he's a few sticks short of a nest.
He's got some short-term memory problems.
Yep. But he's
Memory problems? What memory problems? Oh wait, look, an owl.
But he's very nice, and and he thinks that Maudie is a fortune teller, so she goes, "Your future, it's on the next page."
I love how she's like, oh, I can maybe do some fortune telling, but I don't know if I can do a lot. And he like shoves his giant taloned paw at her. He's like, tell my fortune. She's like, okay, yeah.
Yep.
She takes advantage of his short-term memory loss with absolutely no regrets whatsoever.
Yes.
Every little thing that he's dropped about himself up to this point just uses to full effect and he's like, whoa, I knew you was magic.
Yeah.
We also get another little gross moment where it says she looked at his talons and saw scraps of the big lizard still sticking to them. Ew.
And she's like, you will meet a pretty owl if you eat less lizards and more vegetables.
I love how he even says but I was never fond of vegetables, but I'm partial to green things: frogs, toads, newts, lizards.
Yeah.
Close enough.
But when Maudie's doing this, she ends up using some hair slang, and he's like, wait, what's that?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, like a nice chap. And it's like, oh, so even in universe, no one can tell what hair slang means at all.
That's how they like it. So then he has an owly harp, and we found out he's not a very good singer. But
Yeah.
We have the worst song in the entire series. Then again, it's intentionally trying to be awful,
This is
but
true.
that's not saying much.
We
Yeah.
do have one line in here which I did not notice the first time reading through, but he says, "Cows go moo."
Right.
Is that the first time a cow has been mentioned in this series?
Except for in book 1 when I think
Mhm.
Clooney did something to a herd of cattle.
No,
Otherwise-
they were piglets, like a herd of pigs.
But I thought there was something about cattle too.
Oh, it was like cattle something. Yeah. Stampede. It's like Blazing Saddles. Qualification? Stampeding cattle. That's not very impressive. Through the Vatican. So Alcio then says, like, "Oh, I'll introduce you to the Gaussum."
Gaussum? Have I heard of them? The Guerrilla Union of Shrews and Mossflower? Have I heard of those guys? Nope, no clue who they are or what a log is. No
Yep.
idea at all.
I do. Sorry, go ahead.
What?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
What was I going to say? I was just going to make one comment on the owl song in the audiobook. They didn't even try to put instrumentation behind it. They're just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. You just sing really badly and we'll figure something out.
It's fantastic in its awfulness.
That's
Yes.
great.
Okay, you remember those like crooner songs from like the 30s and 40s where it's just like where it's just some guy just kind of holding a note and undulating his voice back and forth.
Oh,
Basically,
like
that
the song
with
in Mars Attacks. Like that
Yeah,
sort
like-
of thing.
like theremin voice, but
Mm.
just with terrible poetry attached to it.
Here we go. Oh, I do like how the owl then misnames the Gaussum and says Mossflowers, Shrews, in Union of Gorillas.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Marty's like, yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly what it stands for. Good job.
Yep. And we get a quick little Gaussum song, and it's cool.
And there's this line with a G and a U and an O and an S and an I and an M. Oh, Gaussum, I'm one of them. If it's
Yep.
like a G, a U, O, S, I, M. Oh, you mean the Guerrilla Union of obviously original shrews and mossflowers, many meadows? Yeah, never heard of them either.
Kind of makes me think of like the Mickey Mouse thing, like Mouse.
Yeah.
We then meet Logalog Luglug.
Oh, you
Which is
mean
very
lug a
fun.
log?
Lugalog.
Like a bag.
Oh, and they're back to Mugsberry on page 69 in the paperback.
Nice.
But, yep. And I even said, don't even bother asking how I came by the name a Luglug, or you could find yourself in trouble.
Yes. Good to know.
Yep. And so then, food fight!
Yes,
I mean, I
because-
literally have that exact same comment on all caps.
I have it in all caps too.
because some of the younger shoes decided it'd be fun to make terrible, terrible pies as a prank.
You mean
And-
like a shrimberry pie?
Yes.
And apparently one of them used stinkweed, which I am so disappointed that has not been used for a vermin name yet. That is unacceptable.
Stinky Steedweed Stinkerson.
Stinky McStink face.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so then Maudie makes some delicious broth, which sounds tasty.
Yeah.
They have fun, and I like Logalog Luglug. And the Gaussum are always fun, and the Logalogs have always been good. So far.
Ominous foreshadowing?
Ominous
No.
foreshadowing.
Toga breast. Sorry, I had something in my throat there.
Spoilers!
It could be spelling doom. So anyway, we find at the end of the chapter, though, we find out that the bad luck that is running rampant through this book continues, and we find out that a baby has been taken away by a snake.
No.
A baby named Dupper. Really? We've had a Dippler and a Dipper. So what's next? A Dapper?
A Doppler. Dapper, Dippler, Dupper, Bob.
Doubler? So there's two of them?
My tongue is cooking. We then go. We're now back in chapter 10. We are back to the crew, the wonderful, lovely, always happy and wonderful crew of the Blood Gullet. And you know what? With so much going on, they have to find out they have to pull and push the ship through the River Moss. And you know what? This pirate crew does not need grog because there's enough wine to go around.
Ding.
Yep. And so we also see that they're dumb because Kodge is like, Captain, yeah, everyone's complaining there's not enough fresh water left. And he just looks at him and goes, we're surrounded by fresh water, you idiot. Just pick some out of the river. Just get some out of the river.
Yeah, this is actually an understandable mistake to make for someone who's been, in the sea a lot. Automatically, I don't blame them for this. There's a lot of stupid stuff they say later about strawberry trees.
Yes.
But this isn't one of those times. I think it's just an honest lapse of judgment.
Yeah, this is true, but they are pretty stupid.
They definitely are.
Granted, you know what? I probably believe that they're wary of it because these guys are probably dumb enough that they probably drank seawater enough times before, 18 times before they realized it was a bad thing to do.
Yes.
I'm even thirstier than I was before. Better drink more of this stuff.
At this point, it's like Kodge takes a bunch with them, and it's like Kodge is leading a kindergarten group. Actually, I think kindergartners might be smarter than these guys.
It's like the kindergarten leading the kindergartner. Leading the kindergarten.
Yep. And so,
Kodge, is this edible? Is this a Vittles? I don't know. Is it?
I eated the purple berries. How does it taste? Tastes like burning. So, yeah, we get exactly what it asks. Aye, and where's alder trees? What does strawberries grow on?
Strawberry trees!
Strawberry trees!
That joke will never not be funny.
No.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I read that.
You inspired Brian Jakes to write that.
Yes. I went back in time and
Yes.
Oh, so
And
your
it was like
grandfather
whispered.
paradoxed it. He was like,
Yeah.
I liked it when Brian wrote that. I'm going to encourage him to write it again.
Hey Chuck, it's your cousin Marvin Berry. So
Yeah, these vermin forage worse than Dibbins.
Yep. We then they hear something, and it's Orkwill the Hapless.
Yes.
Yep. Orkwill Prink, pity party of one. Your table is now being seated. Our special tonight is humble pie. You should definitely try it, don't you think?
I love it too because they find him and he's like, "Please, kind sirs, can you help me?" And one of the pirates goes, "Someone thinks we're kind sirs. That's nice." And then they call him Orful Stink.
Oh, and he has this very self-indulgent poem about, oh, poor me, lack a day, about his current situation. It's deeply uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, so is being sucked into a swamp.
Well, which is more uncomfortable, being sucked into a swamp or having to listen to his awful poetry song?
It's bad enough that you're dying, but you have to annoy everybody in the process.
Sorry, I'll try to die a little bit more quietly.
Yeah, and so yeah, the pirates rescue him, and because they're like, oh, we'll just take him captive or kill him or whatever. And when he tells them that he's from Redwall Abbey, they immediately like, Kodge is immediately like, oh, I'll bring you to Vizca. I did a good thing.
Yes, he's very proud of himself.
Oh, and one of the vermin describes the not wanting to go into the swamp because it's squelchy. And it's like,
Yes.
squelchy. It's like, come on. That's a perfectly cromulent word to describe a swamp. It squelches.
Yep, this is true. So then they bring him back, and they were supposed to go get food. So I love this moment where Visca looks at him covered in mud and just goes, "That's the queerest kind of vittles I've ever seen in a while."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Gula the Savage would be going, "Ooh, appetizer."
Right.
I haven't had hedgehog in a while.
Yep.
Hedgehog's in a blanket. Literal blanket.
That's a muddy blanket. Oh God. So I also like the line, well, strike me anchor and gut me grandpa.
Yes.
Because Kodge is like, guess where he's from. I don't know, where is he from? Just guess. Tell me, or I'll keep smiling. He's from Redwall. Yep. And so then he makes the Orphle stink joke, and I do like Kodge gets a bad pun, and everyone agrees. Kodge prodded the captive with his sword. You'd better tell their captain what he wants to know, or your name will be Orphle Sorry. No beast laughed at Kodge's pun.
We're laughing at Koch's pun. Not because it was funny, but because of how terrible it was.
Yep. I even liked because then Visca makes another joke, and it says the Blood Gold's crew laughed obediently once more, even Jungo, who had not understood his captain's joke.
Yeah,
That reminds
Jungo
me.
later on is going to say something particularly stupid,
Mhm.
and all I could think of is Jungo makes the other vermin look like they're downright intelligent. But since we've already established that they're so dumb that they make Visca look like the most competent person in the world, how stupid does that make Jungo look?
Even Ka-Chunk guy from Loamhedge is better than is smarter than these ones.
God,
Oh God. And so yeah, they're like like they decide to tie him up next to Gorath, and Jungo's like, "Do stripe hounds eat edge pigs? I didn't know that." And so here's the moment. Kodge was only joking, and he goes, "Don't worry if their stripe hound eats your mate. He's only joking."
duh.
This chapter has so many good like little one-liner moments. It's so awesome.
Yes.
They're kind of dumb and dark at points, but oh my god, it's great. Oh, so then Orc decide, quickly helps out Gorath, and gets to work and says like, "Don't worry, I'm a good thief and I can undo these locks because I did it all the time back at Redwall. Oh, by the way, they kicked me out. I'm not going to mention. Oh, maybe I shouldn't mention that.
Yeah.
I can totally take you to Redwall where everyone loves me unconditionally and definitely doesn't dislike me at all and certainly didn't kick me out. I have no home."
I'm the hero.
I'm helping. Uh, so he he gets Gorath free, and Kodge. Kodge walks up to him and is just like, or he sees that Gorath is sitting up. It's like, "Still alive? What keeps you going?" And then all of a sudden,
Yep.
Kodge couldn't dodge, and his brain was dislodged.
Yeah.
And Gorath just keeps. It says, Orkwell watched a horrified fascination as Gorath shook the already dead fox like a rag. So they then run off, and Gorath was essentially blood wrathing, and then snaps out of it and runs off, and he keeps pushing to keep going with Orkwell, who keeps saying like, "I'll come back for you. I'll come help you. No, let me get something to bring it back to you." And he's like, "No, I'm going to keep going." Which at first I was just like, I can't blame you for wanting to get as far away from the ship as possible, as fast as possible. But but apparently, okay, Martin was helping him.
Yep.
We then get a good fun moment where Orquill's like, "Don't worry, I know where to get some food from a very generous bowl." This was priceless. Where he comes, the bowl is sitting there about to eat, and then looks over and sees Orquill, and he's like, "Are you're back? Okay, do you want to join the two rats who apparently he tied rocks to them and threw them in the water? He took my idea for what I wanted to do to Rigu's family."
So he starts to grump at Orquill, and Orquill's like, "I'm sorry, friend. It doesn't look like we're going to be getting any food." Friend looks around, sees Gorath. Uh-oh.
Exit. Stage left.
Yep. That's right, you curmudgeonly vole. Run!
Yep. And so, yeah, they start eating, and they have like a little bonding moment too. And I like how Gorath is like, "Don't try to stop me. Eat this food and we'll be on our way." And he's like, "I'll try not to stop you, mate. Anyhow, I lost my staff in the swamp, so I couldn't really, could I?" Yeah, but they appear to be becoming quick friends, which, hey, if someone saved my life, I'd want to be friends with them too.
Yes.
And so they head off, and then back in Funville, Visca wakes up to his morons arguing about who to tell him about Kodge, and we get Ferdy, which I just love this, where they're like, "Why don't you just tell him?" And he goes, "Why don't you tell him? Huh? March in there and say, Captain, I got good news for you. I got news for you. Kodge is dead." And then Visca pops out.
I mean, no,
he goes,
duh.
"My brother's dead?"
Nobody wants to tell the volatile captain his brother's dead. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's strangling Jungo, where he's like, "Call me, damn you, call." And then I love this too. As this guy Bilger shows up right as Visca goes, "Where's the stripe hound and hedge pig?" "Gone, Captain."
Really?
No, duh. Oh, God. So Visca's like, "We are going to find them, but I want to do a proper burial for Kodge." And heck, it genuinely feels like he did care about him to some extent.
Yeah.
And I do like how he immediately tells them like what to do and to like tell a quick poem. And the guy telling the poem just kind of says the exact thing what they just did.
Mm-hmm.
And so they send him off into the water, and I like this. Golden Fox wiped water from his eye, which some of the crew mistook for a tear, but it was only caused by a splash as Kodge hit the river. And so we find out, the vole was captured.
Does
well.
anybody feel even a tiny bit of pity for this terrible creature?
Nope.
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 Sucks to be him.
No, not really. I don't care.
Yep. Good. Yeah. And so then we get back to a quick little thing with Orquill and Gorath, where we get the truest words ever said in any Redwall book. "There's always food to be had at Redwall."
Yep.
Of course there is, Orquill. But you're also assuming that they'll let you back in the doors.
Well, you know what? Orquill must have looked at the title of book 2, which is called A Thief Absolved, so...
Who handed him a copy of the script? Who's breaking the fourth wall here?
Orquill broke the fourth wall, or read 5 pages ahead. Yeah. So we then, chapter 12, which is the last chapter of this section of the book, we're finally here.
Yay!
So we then get a line that I absolutely love, where Mahdi says, like, I think it's, we're on the track of an adder. There's adders. And the owl goes, Snakes are naught but snakes, lass. Adders, subtractors, they're all a load of sneaky worms to me. It was so good. And so they find baby Dupper, and I do like how Maudie calls him What's His Face, which honestly that might be a better name than Dupper.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And so Maudie, Lug, and Osseo try to put together a plan to save little Dupper. I say try because Osseo just goes like, "Oh, I'll take care of it," and flies off and leaves the other two standing there like, "Well, now what?"
Yeah.
I mean, they leave. He leaves them basically thinking, "Yeah, this whole situation's rather given Snake." Ding.
Yep. Osseo charges in, and as the other two are trying to plan, so they just charge in, and good on Maudie. The first thing she does is grab Dupper and get him away.
Yep.
And Osseo attacks and goes toe to toe with the adder, and then Log jams his sword down the adder's throat.
Yep. Pulled a Triss.
That's
Wasn't
the
it
end of
Triss
him.
that did that?
I think so. Yes. So adder dead.
Adder dead.
They subtracted his life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Euphis also had that song you talked about, an adder becoming a subtractor. So, I mean,
yes,
not a wholly original joke, but, still a good one.
And then we find out Osseo was bitten by it multiple times, and I was like, oh, it was an adder.
Yeah, it was an adder.
R.I.P. Osseo, perilous, brave fool.
Yeah, and I do like they show him respect at the end too, where Osseo's like, "There was no adder; it was just a grass snake," and the shrew just pats him and says, "You were right." Like he didn't want to argue with him.
Yeah, I like how Maudie sort of cuddles him. She's like, "Oh, my poor muddle-headed old friend." I thought that was kind of sweet. I was like, "Aw."
Yep, and I like it too, where Lug. I like the little poem he reads for him, and then Maudie shouts Eulalia.
Yep.
So, they return to Bulrush Bower, which is where all the Gaussum are, and Dupper gets a name change to Osseo to pay tribute to the owl that saved his life.
And it's a much better name.
Yeah, I can picture the mom going, well, it was his father who named him Dupper, so I'm just going to correct that terrible mistake right now.
This was exactly the excuse I was looking for. His name's Osseo, I tell you. Osseo!
I just wrote that in my notes. Aw, the mom's changing the baby's name to Osseo. A little weird since he already had a name, but now he has a better one.
Yeah.
So then they decide. Log says that they're going to be heading off to Redwall, which he gets absolutely no arguments. Where there's a first. We then get a really, really good sequence with the Gaussum, where for a group that can be argumentative and wild and a little out of control at times, they really know how to organize and work well together.
They do, yeah.
This whole section, like, we get a whole new view of them, like, perfectly working in sync, explaining, like, how they are so skilled at what they do. I really like this section.
I like how they have all their babies on, like, little harnesses so that if they jump in the water, they can get pulled right back up and scolded. It's like,
Yep.
How dare you?
Yep.
Also,
and they do pop in the water. Oh, go ahead.
There's that catchy little Portage song that they sing, which is... I know Pete would probably harangue me for this and, like, have my head on a pike. I want, like, 3 extra verses for this song, because it's so darn catchy.
It is very catchy. That one and the Salamandastron song from the beginning, the one that Ashai sings, those get stuck in my head. Not Ashai, sorry, Gorath, the one that Gorath sings. It's very catchy and it gets stuck in my head all the time.
Well, that's because the voice actor for Gorath did such a good job singing it.
Actually, it's Mark Jakes that does it instead of the actor for Gorath.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I didn't notice that. Oh, then again,
Yeah.
I was like playing a video game while listening to the audiobook, so shame on me. Well, also shame on them for not having Mark Shakes do Martin the Warrior again.
Yes, that was very strange.
Ah!
I just wrote, the boat carrying song is nice.
Yes.
And I also commented, I'm like, there's a lot of porters, but no quarters?
Oh, wait. Ding.
God, it was even a Redwall related pun.
It was, but I have a bell now, so I have to ding.
The bell must be rung. It demands
Yes.
Well, I mean, for whom the bell tolled. Ding!
Oh gosh. So we then get another good sequence. I like this where Maudie goes to sleep on one of the log boats and wakes up and talks to Osbill, which, all right, there's a name. Um, where he said, like, he's paddling and she's like, oh, shouldn't I be paddling too? He's like, well, do you have one? Have you ever paddled before? No, this is my first time on a boat. Then you're not paddling.
Yeah.
And he said that Gaussum shrews train for 4 seasons to learn how to paddle correctly and in sync with each other. That's
Which is
really
really
cool.
impressive.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I really like this stuff. We don't normally get this much detail about how the Gaussum operate.
It's some very impressive world building.
Yep. So then we get a second song in the chapter.
Yeah.
They mentioned Sergeant McLean, and I was like, John McClane? What? Oh, and so then they find out that there's vermin ahead, headed up by Grunton Curdley.
And cue Jeremy's joke about Grunton Curdley's name. 3, 2, 1.
I bet he drinks a lot of curdled milk. So, yep, and I really love this little bit where Lug is like, okay, we have a problem now. They're going to be setting up a trap for us because they saw our spy, or like our scouts. And Maudie lays out this whole plan, and Lug's response is just, what?
Yeah.
That was cute.
I think she's sort of thinking out loud, like, yeah, this is what we'll do. Do the pincer thing, and then we'll go to the thing. She's doing all this military stuff, and he's like, huh? I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. Yes, we'll do the thing.
Also, at this point, I just wrote, like, random thought. A lot is happening in this chapter because, like, we've gone from the bit with saving the baby, Osseo's death, they're on their way, and now we have the curdled milks. A lot is happening, but it doesn't feel overly rushed like some of the stuff in Hyrule Lane, where within the span of like 1 page we had like 18 things happened, and I was just left going like, wait, what? Huh? Who? Someone's dead?
Yep.
Spoiler alert, Brinty dies. I mean, we already know that Rose died.
Yep.
He said that earlier in the episode.
You know what? I'm going to be completely honest. I completely forgot who Brinty was for a few seconds.
Aw, poor Brinty.
Aw, you make me sad now.
So we leave off with crazy barbarian Curdled Milk planning his plan, but not knowing that the Gaussum and Maudie have already planned to plan around his plan, and will plan to get their plan to beat his plan. It's all planned out!
Cliffhanger.
Yep. And we meet, as I said earlier, book 2 we see is titled A Thief Absolved. Gee, I wonder what will happen in this. Jeez. Book spoilers.
Spoilers.
So that is the end of book 1.
And that's good because my phone is about to die.
Oh. So, all right. So, as I said when we started, this was my first time reading this book. Um, Overall, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's interesting. It's definitely very dark at times, especially with the bits of Visca keeping Gorath captive and flat out starving and beating him. But as I said earlier, I think it's better to I think it's good to have a main villain that I dislike because he's a total monster and not because he's an incompetent moron with an annoying family. Um, Orkwill's fine. I'm hoping he'll get better as it goes. He's certainly better than Euphis. Um, though both kind of have equally unfortunate names. And I absolutely love Maudie and the Gaussum. That's my favorite plot line so far. And I definitely like the new kind of like darker focus on blood wrath and the long-term effects. Like Krega and Earthstripe were definitely cautionary tales because Earthstripe died young, and Krega obviously, though Krega was also, like we said, Krega got her wisdom after she suffered her injuries. Ashai is, we can see that he's smart, like he is wise, but also he was wild and out of control in battle, and this is showing like the long-term effects of that. And we don't see that very often. Like the only other old Badger Lord we ever saw in a story was Stonepaw.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, it feels like Stonepaw was older than Ashai is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Ashai went through way more. And not just the blindness part, like he has to get around with a cane. Like he's limping around, like he's not, his body is basically fried, and I guess, I realize we kind of glossed over it. He said that he's probably not going to see another 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I also think the story is better paced than Rulain was, because there were points, like I just said, where Rulain was just like bam, 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 bam. It's definitely a slower pace, because like it feels like a lot of this right now is build up, but I like how it's also giving us time to get to know the main characters. And I'm also very surprised that we only had 1 chapter at Redwall. Like we had the one where God, I almost called him Euphis. Orkwill gets kicked out. And that's it. We haven't seen them since. Like obviously we're gonna see it more. But I kind of like that because it lets the rest of the story breathe, and it shows that things are starting to, are going to converge to Redwall, so it will be back. And there hasn't been as much action as some of the other books either, but I like the little bits we've gotten, like Maudie and the Hermit beating up the lizards was fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, this was definitely interesting to come back to, considering out of the last, 3 or 4 Redwall books, I didn't read them as many times as I did the others. Mostly because Rackety Tam and Hyrule Lane having the audio CDs, I listened to those more frequently, but by the time Eulalia and Doomlight came around, it wasn't that I was less interested, but I was listening to other things. So while I did listen to the audiobooks like 2 or 3 times each, it was within a relatively short period of time, and then I kind of stopped with the series after Rogue Crew, just because, as I've mentioned before, I spent way too much time reading these books, so I could look at a single piece of chapter art and tell you not only what chapter it was, but everything that happened in that chapter. So I needed time to forget and to be able to reappreciate the series from a clearer mind, a fresher perspective. And I feel like, having gone back through yeah, cracked a lot of jokes, but also had a moment where I got up on a soapbox and talked about some stuff that I thought was really wrong. But at the same time, that wrongness is very well conveyed, and you feel for it. So I can only imagine for somebody who's been in that kind of experience in life, that probably resonates, and they can probably relate to Orkwell better as a character than I can. Although the self-aggrandizing speeches don't help his case any. That was a little too true to life. Not that I'm talking about personal experience or anything. Stop looking at me like that. But all in all, the three plot lines weave together very well, and I feel as though, as Jeremy pointed out, it doesn't seem quite as smushed together and rushed as elements of Hyrule Lane were, but it also doesn't feel as vague as some of the elements from like Outcast were, where it's just like, okay, this is happening now. Wait, what? What did I miss? Is there a chapter missing? So it strikes that balance between not telling you everything, but also not being like, I'm intentionally not telling you stuff. Or here, all the exposition. You get everything. It's just like, no, just enough to keep you interested, to keep the plot moving forward. We'll get more in the next two books. So, scale of 1 to 10 so far. How's my reread going? 8 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, I will always like. I have a few other issues coming up in the next books, not as pressing as the ableism issue or the juvenile court issue, which I've already talked about. But I enjoy all of these books. This is not one of my favorites, just because I just have very personal reasons why the description of Lord Ashai just really brings the whole thing down for me. And I think that Miss Maudie, Mad Maudie, the crazy, wonderful hair, does a lot to redeem this book for me. And I think it's cool that we get to see kind of Orkwell grow. His arc is really nice, really neat. Not spoiling anything, but he has a nice arc. And I like Gorath. I think that he does well of making the Avenging Badger sort of a new take on it, which is cool. But yeah, I look forward to rereading this with you guys because I think it's helping me to enjoy parts of this book a little bit more.
Cool. All right then. So you can find us online at recorderonthewall.com. We are on iTunes podcast or whatever it's called now. I don't know what it's called.
The Apple thing.
I don't know anymore.
Stop changing your names, all you stupid services. Exactly. We don't know what you are.
I'll just say it's podcasts because that's what the app says on the iPhone. We're also on Google Play, YouTube, whatever that is, the Google service podcast. I also recently found out I had downloaded this app called Pocket Cast for something else, and apparently we're on that too, so that's cool.
Yay!
Yep. We're also on Spotify, and you can find us in other places such as the Eulalia subreddit. We have one of those. We're featured on the official Redwall forums, and you can find us on Twitter at ROTWpod, and then we have an email address, rotwpod@gmail.com.
And give us 5 stars.
Yes, do that as well. And then I was going to say this at the beginning of the show, but I'll just say it now. I do want to apologize for the mic bumping noise in the last episode. I believe that was my fault. I don't know if that happened during this show. But when I go back to edit, I'll definitely find out. Quick thing. So I do apologize for that showing up in there. please note that I'm very much an amateur at audio editing. I'm just using Audacity, and my extent of editing is throwing in a sound effect or deleting like little bits and things like that. So if any of our listeners do have tips on how to take care of issues like that, or if like there's some weird thing so where I can still salvage the dialogue, please feel free to reach out and let us know. I would love to know a little bit more about the audio editing side. So until next time, I'm Jeremy. And I'm all alone now.
Matthias, you were supposed to go, and then me.
But I was the one that opened.
Oh, right.
I don't know anything anymore.
I'm Katie.
I'm Matthias. I am tortured by my attempts to be polite.
We can do a podcast without Pete, I think.
We're professionals.
Everything's on fire.
It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
We don't need to have it.
Stay tuned for next time where we will get to book 2 of Eulalia. Bye, everybody.